Blaine McConnell's natty or not video. So what this video is definitely not me calling him out. Okay. So I heard him on the Coach 'em Up podcast, Tim Riley, and I was like, I'm gonna look into this guy and check him out, just see what he does. Like maybe I'll learn something, because I always like listening to new people. That's one thing about me. I don't know. I don't know all the answers. I'm unlike many other people who coach and think that they have all the answers. I know that I don't have all the answers. So I'm always listening to other people and trying to learn things. And I came across his natty or not video, and I just brought up a couple ideas that I think are really important for us to discuss here. So is Blaine natty or not? And I suppose you could argue, well, he's not natty because, he used substances that are now on the banned substance list or whatever. But, it's one of those silly things to me where it's like, well, what do you even define as natty? If you take ephedrine, are you still natty? Because that's on the banned substance list. But, here we are with people that are like, I'm natty, and they're on 50 different supplements. It's like, well, that's not very natty. To me, as far as natty or not is concerned, it's whether or not you use exogenous hormones. So do I really care whether or not someone used, some stimulant that's now on the banned list? Not really. I mean, if you're using Provigil, do you really feel like Provigil is giving people, an anabolic effect? I don't believe so. I would disagree with that. I don't think, now surely you could argue that Provigil helps people get lean because it suppresses your appetite or something, or Adderall for that matter. But no, I don't think that drugs like Adderall, Vyvanse, Ritalin, etc. I don't think that those drugs are giving people an anabolic effect. No one's building muscle off of that. So whenever I am referring to natty or not, just to define it here, I feel like it's you using hormones. So whether it's growth hormone, insulin, any androgen, etc. Now, back to Blaine's video. The first thing I would like to point out to you, and this is not me knocking him. Please do not take this the wrong way. The first thing I'd like to point out to you is that he's a pretty big guy. I was looking through trying to find some stats on him. He's talking about being 100 kilos. So, he's like a 220-pound guy. And I assume that he's bigger now than he was whenever he was doing the bobsledding stuff. Because, in 2005 or something like that? No. 2015. 2015, he was listed at over 200 pounds even in 2015. So, this is not a small guy. This is not someone who's 5'5" and 150 pounds. No, this is a pretty solid dude. And so what I'll point out to you is that when you stop and look at his lifts, relative to his body weight, his lifts are not unreasonable. This is not someone who's snatching 200 kilos. So, if you saw a person who weighed 100 kilos and they were snatching 200 kilos, you might be suspicious. That would be warranted. However, as I've pointed out to people before steroids were ever even invented, okay, there were weightlifters who could clean and jerk double body weight, and they could snatch 1.6 times their body weight. Okay, so if you looked at Blaine's numbers, and I found a video of him competing in weightlifting, and he was at 100 kilos, and he was able to clean and jerk 180 kilos. That's not outside of the realm of possibilities. Before steroids were ever invented, there were people who were doing double their body weight. So for a 100-kilo individual to clean and jerk 180 kilos, that is not outside of the realm of possibilities for a drug-free athlete. I think the heaviest squat that I can find prior to 1934 is a 3 times body weight squat. And I don't think that Blaine is squatting over 300 kilos. I can't find any video of him squatting over 300 kilos. Most of the videos I was able to find are him doing reps with very sizable weights still. He's doing reps with 200 kilos or something, but I don't see any videos of him doing reps with 300 kilos or squatting over 300 kilos. The heaviest squat I could find was something that was in the 500s. So that's still not outside of the realm of possibilities here. As I pointed out, before drugs were ever even invented, there were people who squatted 3 times their body weight, okay? So what are we really observing here? And this is the thing that I'll point out to you, is that this guy has been an elite athlete at pretty much everything he's ever done. As he pointed out, he played basketball and jumped so high that he hits his head on the rim. He did CrossFit and he was very good at that as well. He did bobsled and he did very well at that as well. He played football, like D1 football at Idaho. So like this is a guy who is a naturally gifted athlete. He's just good at everything. And what I'd like to point out to you is that this takes nothing away from him. But like he's just a freak individual, kind of like the way that you come across a person who's 7 feet tall. Okay. There are always going to be outliers. The average male is what, 5'10"? Is that where we're at now? I think it's now up to 5'10". So it used to be 5'9", maybe 2 decades ago. Here we are. It's now 5'10", okay? And yet you'll still find people who are over 7 feet tall. Look at the NBA. You will find people who are over 7 feet tall. I had a football player who was in high school, and he was 6'8" and 325 pounds. Yeah, that's a freak. Like, he's just a monster, and he was unbelievably strong. I basically watched him reverse curl 225 pounds. I realized it was supposed to be a power clean, and he just did it for reps and was just going. And it was like, okay, well, you also weigh 325 pounds. So, 225 pounds is less than he weighs. I think one of the things that we miss here, and this is very important in the natty or not discussion, the reason why these people are popular is because they're the freaks. They are the unusually good athletes. It's kind of like how the reason why, LeBron James is in the NBA is because he's an outlier. Like, he's freaky tall and he's coordinated. Now, there's no drug you can take that will make you the same height as LeBron James. I don't care what drug I take, I won't be half Thor Bjornsson. I could take all the drugs. There's no drug out there that's going to make me that tall. It's not going to happen. Similarly, for some of these people, their athleticism is just on another level, even when it comes to strength, okay? We'll use Mark Bell because Mark Bell's been open. And I think that if I remember correctly, Mark said something in the 800s. I can't remember what it was exactly, but it was 800 something. He squatted 800 something drug-free. And then he started using drugs, and that's how he got to 1200, okay? I don't see a reason for Mark to lie about that because he's been open about his drug use. And so, like, Mark Bell squatted 800 pounds drug-free. Most of us will never squat 800 pounds, even with drugs. So, some people just simply, like, I don't mean this in a negative way. This takes nothing away from him. I didn't ask for my genetics. He didn't ask for his genetics. It's not like we had to pick him or something. But some people are born on third base. Okay? And then you have some people who are like me. My dad was 5'5". My mom is like 5'2". Okay? I'm not going to be 6'6". It's not going to happen. It's not in the cards for me. Okay? But, maybe you had parents that, your mom was 6'6" and your dad was 6'8", and it turns out you're 6'10". That's entirely possible. Hell, I'm grateful for my height. I think I peaked at like 5'10", and I'm now, 5 foot, I think they told me I was 9.66 inches. Wow. 5 foot 9.66. Thanks, Mayo Clinic. Talk about being precise. Anyways, the thing is, okay, I didn't come from parents who are over 6 feet tall. So there's no chance that I'm going to be 6'8". It's just not in the cards for me. But the thing is that just like you have the outliers for height, or you have outliers for intelligence, maybe, Maybe someone got a perfect on their SAT, which means that their IQ is at least 160, if not more. This is rare. How often do you come across people that have an IQ over 140? It's not a common thing. The most people are at an IQ of 100. So you know that there are people that exist, though, that have an IQ of 200. That exists. There's no drug you can take that will do that. If there was, it would be miraculous. So, we would give it to people that have an IQ of 80 and they would have an IQ of 160. Not going to happen. But just think about how many standard deviations away that is for someone to have an IQ of 200. Think about how many standard deviations away it is for someone to go from being 5'10" to being 7 feet tall. Now, same thing for strength. If the average guy can squat 100 kilos, and I'm just picking a number, okay, what is it to say that someone couldn't squat 300 kilos? How many standard deviations away is that from 100? And so we all have these outliers. And so, when people make these videos and they say this person's not natty or that person's not natty or whatever, I've thought about this a lot. And the reality is that the reason why these people are popular is because they're the outliers. So if anyone is going to be natty and look like they're on something, it's going to be those people that are popular. Like Ronnie Coleman, the story is that he went pro, drug-free. I don't doubt it. Because after he started using drugs, he put on like another 100 pounds. How many people are going to put on another 100 pounds? Like if you're already on drugs, you're not going to gain another 100 pounds of muscle. And how many people gain 100 pounds of muscle on drugs? Like even if you were 150 pounds and then you gained, what? Another 50 pounds of muscle from using drugs? Like you're not going to see that many people gain 100 pounds of muscle. Genetic outlier. I know, you want to believe that you can be as big as Ronnie Coleman, but I promise you, the odds of you being as big as Ronnie Coleman are like the odds of you suddenly being as tall as LeBron James. So, the point that I'm going to make here is that I actually believe everything that Blaine said in that video because he's basically an awesome athlete his entire life. Like, look at someone like me. Like, I'm just picking on me because I'm going to make fun of me. Look, I was like last picked for like every single sport. And I spent most of my athletic career through elementary school and junior high and high school sitting on the bench. I've told the story in the past. I didn't hit puberty till I was 18. Like, stop and think about that. As a senior in high school, I was like 5'4". How do you think that went for me? I didn't even weigh 100 pounds. What do you think it's like being 5'4" and 88 pounds trying to play hockey against guys who already went through puberty and they're over 6 feet tall? I mean, I had teammates that were like 6'2" and 235 pounds. And I'm 5'4" and 88 pounds? You can see why I sat on the bench. Everything changed after I hit puberty. Puberty is awesome. You want to talk about like performance enhancing, hit puberty. And you grow a few inches and pack on a whole bunch of muscle that you didn't have before, just magically. It was like amazing. I was like, I'm getting taller. I gotta buy new clothes. I gotta buy new shoes. I gotta buy new pants. It was amazing. There I was, a senior in high school, no facial hair, by the way. And I was thinking to myself, oh my gosh, I'm shorter than my dad. I'm not even gonna be taller than my dad. This is as big as I'm going to get. And then I suddenly hit puberty at 18. A little late. But the point being here, okay, Blaine was a standout athlete his entire life. So is it any surprise that as an adult he's still a standout athlete? No. And I was a bench warmer my entire life. So is it any surprise that I'm still a bench warmer? But I sat the bench at a very high level. Let's just make sure that that's clear. In fact, actually, if there's any NHL teams out there that are still interested in a 40-something old man, I promise you, I can sit the bench and talk trash like at an elite level. Like, I run my mouth 24/7. So even when I'm on the bench, like, I'm a chatterbox and I don't shut up. I promise I will get under people's skin. I'm really good at sitting the bench. I sit the bench at a very high level. So, anyways, that's the thing for you guys to think about here, okay? Some people, like, no different than height or IQ or any other features, some people are really good looking. Some people look like me. And it's just, you have those outliers. You have a Brad Pitt. You have I don't know whoever's good looking today. I'm not familiar with current actors. Ryan Gosling, is that somebody? Is that anybody? Maybe it's Ryan Reynolds. Ryan something is supposedly good looking. Anyways, or you have, people who are really tall, and you have people who are, really talented. I mean, how many people are going to be Jimmy Page? Like, I don't care if you play guitar for the next 40 years, you don't become Jimi Hendrix. Like, some people are just gifted. And so we all have different gifts. We all have different outliers. And so the thing about social media, though, is that the outliers are the ones who become popular. So if anybody's natty, it's probably the really popular people. Think about it, because they're the outliers. So that's why they're popular. And that's my thoughts on this. So I actually believe everything that Blaine said. Like I said, his lifts are not, his lifts are impressive, but his lifts are not outside of the possibility. Like, people were lifting the same amounts of weight prior to steroids existing. So, like, he's not doing something that's never been done before. He's not Lasha. He's not snatching some weight that's never been lifted before, okay? Which, mind you, Lasha is actually, like, relative to his body weight, is actually not lifting that much relative to his body weight. But, he's not Tian Tao. How about that? He's not snatching double body weight. And so that's the thing we have to think about here. You guys are seeing an outlier, and you assume that person must be on drugs because they're an outlier. And in reality, like, they probably just really are the outlier. You have a lifetime of being gifted. Yes, no surprise, you're still gifted as an adult. So anyways, that's my thoughts on this, and I hope it makes some sense, and I hope it makes you think. And, whether or not you think he is or isn't, doesn't matter. I'll tell you that the real secret is pain medication. That's the real secret in elite sports. Everyone thinks it's steroids, and I promise you there are more guys using pain medication than there are guys using steroids. Pain medication is like a big thing. But most of the pain medications aren't banned. You can take all the Toradol you want, but that is definitely a performance-enhancing drug because you can shut down the pain. And if you're in enough pain, you can't perform. So you take a whole bunch of Toradol, and now you can play. That's the real secret in pro sports, pain medication. Anyways, that wraps it up. I can keep going, but I'll stop there.